Thank you so much. We're very excited to be here today, and happy belated International Women's Day. My name is Shogwell. I'm the VP of Marketing and Partnerships at Open, and this is Stacy Jain. And so Open, for those of you that don't know, we're based in Pasadena, and we're a personal artificial intelligence company. We create personal AI, or PAI, and that's an intelligent avatar that looks like you. It talks in your voice. It can do things on your behalf, and now we are authenticating and securing it on the blockchain. And so in this presentation, we'll talk about blockchain technology, what it is and why it matters, and some applications of how Open is using blockchain for our personal AI. And then Stacy will talk about how about healthcare applications on blockchain.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Speaking of failure, I see a great challenge in my career, given that being a woman in healthcare, a very complex industry, as you know, highly regulated, a lot of challenges, and now with blockchain technology, I'm expecting some failure ahead, but I'm very excited about this advancing technology and how it can apply to healthcare. So we'll talk a little about that today. So I'm just taking a very high overview of what blockchain is. I think there's different understanding in the crowd here. I've been hearing a lot of Bitcoin, but just like, but besides that, how I see blockchain is very simply how I would view it is that it's a new database technology with a lot of in terms of how we do transactions and how that data is stored and confirmed and verified. So it's a new database technology about how you can securely manage a ledger. A ledger is just simply transactions. It could be what you buy. It could be eventually what I see, how I go to the library and check out my kids' books. So things like that are all transactions being secured on a ledger. That ledger, what's special about it is that it's not in a centralized location. As we all know, database is secured within our firewalls in a centralized way of how we authenticate that information. So the blockchain technology is that the idea is that the database is in a distributed network of computers, meaning that it's not owned by anyone. It's actually owned by how we authenticate and verify that information. Data is stored in a blockchain, blocks of data, and it's linked together by how we want to verify that information. Think of it as a chain link, right? If that chain breaks, that transaction is no longer verifiable, and it breaks down in terms of errors and everything. So the security and the data that there's a lot of in terms of use cases that we'll see. Pretty much what I see in the healthcare with a change in the way we deliver care. So why does it matter to us? Do you want to flip to the next slide?
So I've been working in the blockchain space for about a year now, mainly with my time at Open. And before I really dived into the blockchain, to me, blockchain was this thing called Bitcoin, and I didn't really know what it was. It seemed like it was something for the dark web or illegal things. But as I dove more into blockchain technology and kind of the powerful and robustness of it, I started to also realize and learn that many large companies are already exploring and using blockchain technology. For example, Walmart, they're partnering with IBM to look at blockchain solutions for how they can streamline and improve their food supply chain. And so what blockchain is enabling, right, is that peer-to-peer trust. It's enabling transparency and then also efficiency. Visa, for example, they're also using blockchain technology to improve business-to-business transactions, especially cross-border transactions, to kind of minimize the exchange fees and to cut out that middleman. So there's many, many ways, and today I also share how Open is using blockchain technology for our personal AI. So before we dive into some of the projects that we're working on, we wanted to first talk about women in blockchain. As I mentioned, I've been in the blockchain space for about a year. I have attended many meetings, many meetups like this, been speaking at many conferences. But one thing that I've noticed, as well as Stacy, is that we're one of the few women in this community. And so what we really want to do is foster awareness, education, and ultimately participation of women. And so this is our initiative to kind of help promote and build a community. You can find us in Women in Blockchain and Crypto. We have a meetup group, and you can scan these QR codes. So we have a meetup group, Facebook group, and LinkedIn. And this is a relatively new initiative, right? And we're hoping to encourage more women to participate, and also those men that support the women. So now I'd love to share with you what we're doing at Open. So as mentioned, Open, we create personal artificial intelligence. And our vision is really to build a personal AI for every person in the world. And we believe that it should be easy to use, it should be owned and controlled by you, the individual, not some centralized entity, and it should be useful for you and benefit you.
Hi, I am a virtual copy of Nikhil made using Open's artificial intelligence technology. As Nikhil's personal AI, I enable Nikhil to spend more time with his wife and 3 kids, enjoy a nice hike, or go off-roading. Ni hao, 我是尼克尔，来自悉尼世界，我长得帅，能唱歌，能跳舞，还会说中文。
So not sure if any of you guys could understand the Chinese. But this is Nikhil, the human, and this is his personal AI, the younger, a little bit more attractive, a little bit more and the real Nikhil is in this room as well, so you can verify for yourself. And all of this was made using Open's AI technology, from the appearance of the avatar to the AI voice, to all the animation. That's all created by Open in-house. And you'll also notice that his AI has more skills than the actual Nikhil. So Nikhil's personal AI can speak multiple languages, whereas the real Nikhil, he doesn't really speak Chinese.
I'm also a pretty good singer. I have a better voice than the real Nikhil. Let me sing for you. Take me out to the morning, take me out to the car. My moods emptiness and cracker jacks. I don't care if I never get back. Let me move. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes you out and oh, boy. And that was made using Open's AI technology as well. Nikhil himself, also not a very good singer. But with Open's tech, we can take your speaking voice and convert it into your singing voice. So we're enabling a variety of skills. Some of the initial AI skills, as you saw today, were being able to speak multiple languages, even if you, the human, cannot. Be able to sing, even if you, the human, doesn't sing well. And we're going to continue to add on. And that application is also, we're developing a fun consumer application called PAIO, P-A-I-Y-O, in which any person can create their personal AI. They can, with just one selfie and a brief voice recording, and then now they can experience their talking, singing, dancing PAI in augmented reality on mobile. So why did Open adopt and start to get into blockchain technology? As we are creating our personal AI, and essentially think of it as your digital identity, it became increasingly important that we were able to authenticate it and secure it. And so that's why we started looking into blockchain technology, because blockchain enabled that. And so we adopted the Project PAI blockchain. And to learn more about Project PAI, you can go to projectpai.com. And so Project PAI is an open source blockchain protocol for personal AI. What it enables is for any person in the world to very simply to create their personal AI with just one selfie and a brief voice recording. And then now you have your AI, right, that can do things for you. We are opening up our APIs so that any developer can create their own decentralized application for a variety of experiences. We're working in a variety of industries such as entertainment, retail, and also healthcare to create different personal AIs. So for example, in China, we are working with the China Lipo Group, which is one of the largest Chinese hospital and healthcare providers, to make the PAIs of doctors and physicians and pharmacists. So now that we can enable, different and more streamlined healthcare solutions. PaiCoin is the digital currency that supports the overall ecosystem. And to learn more, you can go to projectpai.com.
Great, thanks, Joe. Similar to Joe, I started looking into blockchain technology within the healthcare space about a year ago. I think with the hype of cryptocurrency, there's a tremendous amount of fear about how this is not really where we want to go in terms of scam. But as I dug into more, there's actually a lot more that we can do, use cases related to blockchain, not cryptocurrency. As you can see, this illustrates some of the open source network of blockchain projects within the healthcare industry, and it's stratified by different in terms of infrastructure, data analytics, all the way to supply chain and how we transform digital healthcare and delivery of care. So my main thing here today is to educate in terms of this technology is not necessary for a new use of currency, but how it can apply to the way we deliver healthcare and transform, and the way some of the challenges I see in healthcare about data management, how data is being exchanged across healthcare organizations. Blockchain technology can actually help us advance in that space. So what are some of the use cases that I see? So in terms of being a disruptive technology, I think it really empowers me and you as patients to have access to data that we have. Even working at Kaiser Permanente, the idea of exchanging my information outside of my network within Kaiser, it's very difficult as a patient. So we're constrained to that model about having data very secure within Kaiser Permanente. But the idea of blockchain is that you now can own your data, given that the data can be exchanged within your wallet. You have all the information within inside your phone, your mobile. You can transfer the data to wherever you want. So your access to data is now empowering you to manage your own care. Some of the other use cases, as we know, there's a lot of personal health devices that we're all using in terms of tracking your weight, tracking your diabetes, tracking the amount of exercise and what food we intake. All that information can also reside on a blockchain and be secured and also transferable to where you need to be, wherever you want to be, and have access to providers that you want to have access to that information. The third use case that I see, which is a big challenge, I've been working in healthcare for the last 20 years, and health information exchange, the idea that we had that, let's have everything electronically instead of paper record. We got there, but what do we do with that data, and how do we make use of the data and be able to transfer that and have a network of information that will help you and me be better in managing our care, and also for the physicians and the other clinicians to be able to manage our care properly. So there's a really, how I see, a promise to some of the challenges I've been working for the last 10, 15 years, and really expediting using this technology. I mentioned here about drug supply chain, the fact that that is happening right now. A lot of pharmaceutical companies, and in terms of transparency and how drugs are being purchased, how drugs are being used and consumed by the patient. There's several projects underway have been successful in delivering drug supply chain. And lastly, which I think will really transform how we deliver care and have access to care. Many of the things that we're thinking about will be possible given blockchain will solve some of the problems in terms of authentication, privacy, secure data, and the exchange of data that I think will really transform the care. So those are some of the 5 main use cases I see, and I've been reading a lot about when is this going to be really full adoption in the industry. The most recent survey that I've seen is probably 3 to 5 years from now. These projects I just mentioned earlier are underway in terms of pilots. I really see full adoption probably in 3 to 5 years within our industry here.
And so before we open up for questions, we just wanted to share with everyone our next meetup. It's Women in Blockchain and Crypto. You can find it on our meetup page. It'll be on Wednesday, March 21st at Pop Champagne, which is right around the corner. So we invite everyone to attend, especially the women, but also the men supporting the women in the blockchain community.
Excellent. That was a super concise presentation. You guys are masters of your domain, clearly. We're opening up to Q&A now. If you have a question, raise your hand. John will walk around with the mic. Please save storytelling and comments for afterwards. Show and Stacy, will you guys be hanging out with us a little bit? After the, like around 9, it probably, I don't know how much time we're going to do for Q&A, but around like 9:20 we might be wrapping up. So yeah, if you do have a story or comments or more specific questions that you don't want to share here, please ask afterwards. Thanks.
Hey Stacy, I heard that you handled it early, right? So if you need to ask Stacy a question, now's probably the time.
Hi, so I had a question on that open AI stuff. How do you feed the data? Is it always image or audio, video, or just direct static data you can push up? Like the whole general knowledge of internet, can you push it to a AI character which will answer or question to whatever it is? So I'm talking about knowledge. How do you feed the knowledge into it?
Right. So right now we're doing kind of visual data, whether it's your face, right, and your voice data. So with that, it's just one selfie and then a voice recording. And as you input more data, right, the AI system will train it and it will get smarter. But the ultimate vision we see is that personal AI can be your digital identity. So as Stacy mentioned, right, about using blockchain to kind of track your medical health records and things like that, we see in the future, you can have a personal AI that not only has your biometric information, your visual, your voice, kind of your social knowledge and things of that nature, what you like, what you don't like. They can also have your healthcare data or your educational data or your financial data, and it serves as essentially your real digital identity that can transport across different industries.
Over here.
Got it. Hi guys, I loved your presentation. I have a question actually for the healthcare. I was curious whether you guys have rolled out anything that's patient-facing, and if so, how do you help all of your patients understand how blockchain systems work and make sure you have sort of quality of knowledge and understanding?
We haven't yet. We're doing some pilots and maybe more solution designed. As you know, our industry has a lot of current operational and issues in terms of delivery and also launching in terms of transferring some of our products into digital. I think we're mature in that stage, but looking into blockchain and really being a consumer-centric at this point is not it yet. We are looking at how we can, in terms of the data of your patient demographics and clinical data, how can we securely put that onto the blockchain that we can exchange that information?
Great presentation. Thank you guys so much for. I have two questions. When does PAI go live? And the second question is how far along is your ICO, or when do you guys plan the ICO?
Great question. So PAI is very near going live, which is very exciting, and we've been working very hard on it for the past 4 years. We're getting ready to launch in the next month or so. So the first application will be called PAIO. It's PAIYO, and you can go to paio.com to learn more. But it's going to be a mobile application where with just one selfie and a brief voice recording, you can create your PAI. You can then customize it with clothes and hairstyles and a variety of different accessories, and then you can use your speaking voice to create a singing, dancing PAI similar to what you saw in Nikhil's PAI do. We are not, so Project PAI is not doing an ICO, but we are building the kind of PAI ecosystem. So Urban is one of the early adopters of Project PAI, and PaiCoin is the currency that kind of drives that overall ecosystem. And so we along with other partners are creating applications on the PAI blockchain.
Can we buy the coin?
It's not available today, but you can learn more at projectpi.com.
Hi, my name is Jain. Great presentation, both of you. This question is for Stacy. So my wife is a Kaiser pediatrician at Baldwin Park, so she was part of the Health Connect rollout 15 years ago. Are you guys doing blockchain with Health Connect? I mean, if anybody could do it, it's by Kaiser, so.
Such a complex question to answer, because I was part of that implementation. She's probably my pediatrician for my kids. I would frankly say no at this time. Health Connect is our EMR, electronic record system at Kaiser Permanente. We spent the last 15 years expanding that platform, and it's really a giant to move at that point. I think what I would say is that we're not going to migrate, Health Connect, which is our email platform, but really leverage off blockchain as a new platform, new access point to consumer channels.
Back here.
There you go. Two quick questions, one for Oben, one for Kaiser. First for Oben. When I was watching your presentation, the first thing I kept thinking about was the contractual issues of an avatar, especially when it got to be to the point where it would be indistinguishable from a human video. Can you comment on that? And then the second one is the British study that came out recently on electronic healthcare records and how they were not cost effective and what blockchain is doing.
There were not what?
Electronic healthcare records, the conversion, did not end up being economic as much as was anticipated. Blockchains working with that. Thanks.
So to answer your first question, so right now it's not there today, right? But we hope that it is. But that's one of the important reasons why we are putting it on the blockchain, because your personal AI is you, the individual's digital identity, digital representation. So instead of a centralized entity controlling it and owning it and managing it, we believe that that ownership and control should be at the individual. And that's what blockchain enables, and that's why we're putting it on the blockchain. So, we hope that people will continue to input data and to train it and make it smarter so that it can benefit you, the individual. So we don't see that being an issue at this point.
Yeah, in response to your question, I did mention earlier, in electronic medical record was the promised land of IT, right? Let's move from a paper and pencil type of environment to electronic. And I think there's trade-offs in terms of cost and economy to where we are today. The benefits that we're seeing today having electronic records suffice in terms of economy and the value that I see as a patient, our care providers, how they provide care. I think when we talked to economy scale, it was a very expensive thing to do. And in fact, the federal government had mentioned about interoperability. I mentioned how can health organizations transfer the data between each other so that it makes it very useful, right? That's not there yet, and it's been the biggest challenge for us, and it's very costly to do. And up until this point, we still can't do it, and that's why I think blockchain will help us expedite and maybe hopefully a more efficient and costly way to do that.
Over here.
Good morning. For companies that want to build applications on the PAI blockchain, what skill sets would you recommend they look for in their developers?
That's a great question. So to be honest, I'm not a technical person, so I couldn't answer that question intelligently. But what we are enabling is easy integration with our APIs so that you don't have to reinvent the blockchain. You don't have to reinvent personal AI. We make those tools available for you so that you can create your own applications using personal AI on the blockchains.
Hi, thank you very much for your presentation. It was very, very informative. My question is, what is your view of the biggest benefit of blockchain, since you've both experienced it for over a year now, prior to blockchain, and from a user standpoint and a consumer standpoint? What would be the biggest benefit be on blockchain?
So for open and personal AI, it's really the authentication and the security, and then also peer-to-peer transactions. And so what that means is, let's say I create a personal AI in the world that we live in today, right? If my personal AI is let's say Stacy is interacting with my personal AI, it's important that she knows it's mine, it's me, I'm behind it, as opposed to Nikhil stealing my personal AI and posing to be me. And so what blockchain enables is that authentication, right? You know when you're talking to my PAI, it's actually my PAI, I've authorized it, and I'm allowing you to interact with it. And it's also kind of that security so that it minimizes the misuse, right? So other people cannot steal my PAI and then pose to be me. What it also enables is peer-to-peer transactions. So for example, in the healthcare application where we're creating the doctor's personal AI, let's say I'm the doctor and Stacy is the patient. Instead of having a middleman to kind of handle that transaction, we can just talk directly and then transact directly as well, and that's what blockchain is made.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I want to ask you two questions. My first question is, on your pilot programs, are you focusing at all on the younger generation? I mean, obviously they're much more adaptable to the technology, they get it, and they're more willing to use it. and really kind of maximize its potential, which is what you have for it. Are your pilots at all geared to that and seeing how quickly that can adopt and what uses they're using it for? That's my first question. Then my second question is, do you feel that people using an avatar actually will provide more information about themselves and more interactive ability, which happens, of course, in the gaming sector, or less human-to-human connection because they know this is some created character and there's that disconnect?
I think we often relate hype to more younger generation. In fact, I'm the opposite, and my passion is how do we help senior citizens. I'm passionate about the mental and behavioral health space. As we know, that's a big problem here in America. So my focus is more on the ones who need it the most, as opposed to younger generation who can adopt this technology much more quickly, because there's a larger organization that we know in terms of population and people that we want to influence. And that's why women in technology and women in blockchain, we want to bring that perspective in, and let's just not focus on the people who can really need it and really use it, but those are the disadvantaged or someone who should be needed the most, we can help. So I don't think we're going to focus on certain age group or anything like that. But there's many use cases in behavioral health that I see, especially also in the elderly population.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, at Open, we feel very similar, but it depends really on the application that we're creating. So, for example, PAI is a more social application. We believe that's going to be targeted. We believe the younger generation will be more adept to use it. But in the healthcare use cases and pilots that we're working on, to what Stacy alluded, right? We believe that it is also applicable for older generations and senior citizens and those who really need it. So our audience is really a wide variety depending on the application.
Thank you both. Not too long ago, it was widely reported that hundreds of millions of dollars of cryptocurrency was stolen. So tell us how blockchain is more secure.
So I like to think about cryptocurrency different from blockchain technology. Currency, blockchain is the basis of that knowledge, but I think for healthcare, in a sense that the way the database is being managed and verified, it's actually much more secure in the way we manage it today. Given that the information is pretty much locked into each data block, and the identification of that and authentication of that requires each block to be verified. I would say we spend a huge amount of money at Kaiser Permanente on a daily basis to make sure our databases are secured behind the firewall. It's a very intensive, labor intensive. Investigating this new technology that we may think is more transparent, efficient, it's very new, right? We want to be able to investigate and see whether this is going to resolve some of these challenges that we see today. So I can't answer that question right now, I think, but in time we can say maybe this is the better way to go, and let's investigate it and spend some time and effort into investigating into a new technology versus trying to cover band-aid what we have today. That is not cost efficient.
Over here.
Thanks for that great presentation. I just wanted to ask you about if you could speak on HIPAA compliance and blockchain, and just a little bit about that.
It's so new right now, and we just attended the HIMSS conference, and a lot of people brought up that question. I think it's being observed obviously closely by regulators, and definitely one of the things that we talked about is maybe it's not open, blockchain. Probably a private network blockchain environments that can be the first, as opposed to very openly like Bitcoins and stuff like that.
I've got a question. Last time when Nikhil was here talking about Open and how that got started, and he talked about some funding that he received, so since he shared that with everybody, I would assume it's not confidential. It seemed like a lot of Asian investment funds from both China and Korea, or Japan I should say, have invested in the company. I would assume that they have some strategic reasons. Do you see this PAI technology being more rapidly or readily adapted in Asia versus the US? Or what are some of the use cases there that would interest them in making investment in your company?
So some of Oben's investors include Tencent, SoftBank, K11, which is one of the largest retail players in Asia. And the reason why they invested into Oben is because they could see integration and PAI integration into their existing ecosystem, and they could readily see applications. And so what I found, right, in talking to people in Asia versus people in the US, just in general, the Asian market is a little bit more technologically advanced than here in the US. And so, for example, one example is WeChat. WeChat is the largest social platform in China. It has about 1 billion monthly active users. And they're using WeChat to, not only message people, but also to pay for food at the restaurants, to call an Uber, right? To even the homeless now have QR codes with which you scan, and that's how you're giving money to the homeless. So that it just kind of is an example of how technologically advanced, right? Not only are they already a credit cardless system and a cashless system, right? They're doing everything with mobile payments and mobile transactions. And so we believe that many of our Asian partners, right, are jumping on board first because of kind of that advancement in Asia, but we believe that there's also many applications and working on partners here in the US as well. And so we're going to start to roll that out in the coming months and years.
So another question, since we've got a little more time. Do you see this as a threat to society in terms of human interaction versus digital, especially when it comes to jobs and how jobs may be taken over by the digital world?
So I don't think we're in like the days of Westworld just yet. But for us, we really see PAI as a way to enable deeper human connection. One example and one pilot that we're exploring right now in the healthcare space is, for example, in China and in India, one of the biggest problems is access to good healthcare and to just good doctor information in the rural countries, in the rural areas, because all of the doctors are congregating in the cities. So even something as basic as a, just very basic consultation or something like that, right? The people in the rural areas aren't having access to that information, and so we believe that PAI can enable, right, something like that. And so for us, we don't view the doom and the gloom. It's definitely something that is in our consideration and we're thinking about. But for us, we see a lot of great upside, a lot of opportunities for people to connect in a deeper level.
So you have a question back here?
Two questions, one for Project PAI and one general. Do you view MetaMask or any other avatar systems as direct competitors on Project PAI? And general question, do you have any opinions or preferences on consensus protocols?
So for your first question, there's many companies that are creating like the avatar visual appearance, or there's many companies creating the AI voice, many companies creating the chatbot. But what separates Oben from these companies is that we are doing what we call full stack AI. So it's the appearance, the voice, as well as kind of the quote unquote brain, right? And it's that combination and that integration of it, which we believe is what sets us apart from our competitors.
In response to your question about consensus protocols coming from healthcare, I think that is some in terms of treating the masses a bit. In example that show has given, there's a huge amount of access issues, right? But if we can build artificial intelligence based on protocols that we know that are efficient and can guide you to the correct care and appropriate care at the right time, that's where I see it will be valuable. And I can see, challenges about, fear about, everyone's guiding to the same way, or maybe it's not, there's always some out of the box that we may not fit into the algorithm or protocol perspective. There's challenges with that, but there's always to route, intelligently route those things, and we're doing that right now, in fact. So we're building some protocols that are consensus based on clinicians' practice and knowledge and experience and a huge amount of data that we can treat the masses and be able to route them appropriately.
Hello, my name's Jain Wheeler. I'd like to say congratulations on jumping on this voyage adventure of blockchain. But the question I have is, are you laying it down on the initial blockchain, or are you actually creating your own internal blockchain, which that would actually make it safer?
So for Open and our adoption of Project PAI, Project PAI is its own blockchain. It's an open source protocol. And so we're putting our personal AI on top of it. So it's not, Project PAI is building their own blockchain. They're not adapting, or they're not using Ethereum or, yeah.
I'm sorry, but I have to go, but I'm really glad to be here today and to share some of the things and all your interests. But find me on LinkedIn and we can connect more if you have any more questions. Thank you.
Do you want us to ask her a couple more questions, or do you guys have to go show?
Sure, I can stay for a couple more questions.
Look at 2 more.
Actually, my question was for the for a healthcare side, but if she's in a hurry, then I can ask another time.
Oh yeah, before you go, would you like to, we should just do the photo real quick. Yeah, and then if there's one more question, we'll handle it. But yeah, thank you for the reminder. Please step down from the stage to get a photo of you.
Can you answer the question while you're taking pictures?
Let's do a fun photo, everyone.
Yeah. What did we do last meeting? We did funny faces.
Alright, 3, 2, 1. Excellent, cool, excellent. Then let's get back to the question.
This is for show. I know this might be a little early, but do you guys have plans to monetize the avatars? And if so, like, what are some of the ideas of your monetization process?
Yes, we do have monetization. And so there's a couple of ways that we're going to monetize. For example, in PAIO, our first application, creating your PAI is going to be free, and it's kind of like a freemium business model. So to access kind of premium features such as premium clothing or premium songs, right? People would pay 1 PAI coin. In the, let's say, healthcare application, right, where you're creating the doctor's PAI and a patient is, seeking maybe an initial consultation with the doctor's PAI, that would be 1 PAI coin as well.